Okay, thank you for joining the Associate Degree Nursing Traditional Option Information Session for Fall 2024 entry. My name is Brooklyn Edwards, Coordinator for Special Admissions and Campus Outreach. So the purpose of this info session is to give you a little brief description of the program, to talk about how do I apply to the Associate Degree Nursing program, the enrollment packet, the webpage where you can find all of this information, and then later in the session, we'll hear from our Director of Nursing as well. So briefly, the Associate Degree Nursing program, this is the traditional option that we're going over right now. The traditional option courses are held during the day. And when we talk about courses being held during the day, we're referring to your nursing courses. Those are daytime hours. They're also held at our Davidson campus in Lexington area. This is a 2-year associate in applied science degree. And this is the degree that you used to take your licensing board to become a registered nurse, to become an RN, okay? As Dr. Lundgren will talk about later in the session, clinical hours vary. So even though the coursework is during the day, you may have clinicals at any daytime, evening, weeknight, weekend, all kinds of variations. And we'll touch on that a little later. So what I want to go over in a little bit more detail are what are the application requirements for our associate degree nursing program. We have some items that are required of every ADN applicant, and then we have some items that are required, that are not required, that are completely optional. So we're going to break those down a little bit. The steps to even apply to this program. It is a program with special criteria. You'll hear us say that over and over again. You'll also hear us refer to that as PWSC for short. Because nursing is competitive entry, not only do you apply to Davidson-Davie as a pre-ADN student and go through our entire enrollment process, that includes new student orientation, sending in transcripts, doing the whole thing to become a Davidson-Davie student. You would then submit a PWSC application to start working on your ADN application. So it's kind of a two-step process. Now, if you're already a current Davidson-Davie student enrolled with us and you've applied with Davidson-Davie since August of 2022, then you do not have to redo step 1. You do not have to reapply to Davidson-Davie. You do not have to redo new student orientation. You don't have to resend transcripts. So it's very important. If you applied with us since August of 2022, you're okay. You do not have to do step 1, okay? But if you applied to us prior to August of 2022, we implemented a new application system in August of last year. So you will have to reapply. But again, if you applied to us after August of 2022, you're a student with us, you're okay. So students will take care of step 1. Step 2, as far as required items, is you submit the PWSC application. This is what generates your ADN nursing application checklist. A lot of this may sound a little confusing to you right now, but don't worry, we're going to go through this step by step in just a moment. You will submit a high school transcript to our Office of Admissions, okay? The reason we need that high school transcript is because this is a program with special criteria, and so programs that fall under that category, we do require the high school transcript be sent to our Office of Admissions, okay? You have to provide evidence of a level 2 English and math. So don't get caught up in trying to get confused with this one. Most of the time, I'm going to use your high school transcript, your unweighted GPA to look at that. Also, if you've taken any college level English or math courses, we're going to use that, okay? Everything that we go over tonight is going to be in detailed form in the enrollment packet. So all the things that I'm just glancing over, there's going to be much more detail of that in the enrollment packet online, okay? Another required item of all ADN students is to submit a T-score. And we're going to talk about and show you exactly that score report example that you need to upload to your application portal. Minimum total T-score of a 62. You can have any score in the science category, but everybody has to have a minimum of a 62 on the T's. If you do not have a minimum 62 total score on the T's, then you're not even going to be eligible to apply to the program. There's the proper documentation. Again, this is going to be on the PWSC website. It's linked in the enrollment packet. So we've got this kind of in a couple different places for you to review. But that is what the proper documentation is going to look like when you upload your TEAS score document. So the main thing is just remember kind of that red and blue. If you're able to see the colors, it's a bar graph. So if you can't see the red and blue colors, then just look at that. We need the bar graph. It's going to have, of course, your name, your total score, and it's going to have your science score on there. Those are the two scores I'm looking at. Now, we talked about the required items where you apply to Davidson-Davie. You do your PWSC application, high school transcript, show us that your English and math ready. You upload that TEAS score. Those are the required documents and the required steps for all ADN applicants. A lot of you are going to have the opportunity to show evidence of optional items because this is a ranking process. While these are optional, they're not required. They're going to give you a lot more points in the ranking system and make you a much more competitive applicant for the ADN program. So one of the first things that we get a lot of questions about, of course, are the general education courses. Anything that's considered a general education course, you have to have a final grade of a C or higher. Okay. We're looking at those sets of anatomy courses. You'll see on the screen there the course codes that we're looking at. And those are the community college course codes. Okay. A lot of detail is in the enrollment packet about how we need to take those anatomy courses. You can have one or both, because remember, these are optional items. You do not have to have any of these courses to apply to the program. But what you need to keep in mind is that the set of anatomy courses, A&P 1 and 2, must be completed before the start of the fall 2024 semester if you are accepted into the ADN program. So don't get those confused. They're not required to apply to the program, but if you are accepted into the program, you have to have those both completed with C's or higher before fall of 2024. You'll go on to see there's a communication course that is going to be required at some point, an English course, a second English course, a humanities course is preferred, and then 2 psychologies. So you're looking at your general psychology class and your lifespan development class. There's no substitutes at all on your anatomies, and there's no course substitutes on those psychologies. I've pretty much put on the screen and in the enrollment packet the courses that we're going to look at for your communication, your Englishes, and that humanities 115 critical thinking class. But if you have any questions, make sure you read through the enrollment packet where it talks about these courses and definitely about the anatomies. We have a lot of students who transfer in anatomy courses, so you want to make sure that you've got the right ones being transferred in. We can take bio, the older bio 165 and 166, or the newer bio 168 and 169. We can take one or both of those. Those courses are very specific when you transfer them in. You can take them at any North Carolina community college, and we'll accept those if they're a C or higher. But if they're a university, they have to be from the same university. And you cannot split them. You cannot take 168 at a university and do 169 at a community college. So we'll, again, take them from any community college. There's 58 of them. But you cannot split them between a community college and a university. Okay. So some of this might get a little confusing. Just be sure you're reading through that enrollment packet to make sure, again, your anatomies are correct. Another optional item is the NA1 registry. So this is if you've completed the Nursing Assistant 1 course and you're listed on the North Carolina registry for that. So it's the NA1 registry. On the screen, you'll see the documentation. You'll also see this again on our PWSC webpage. So remember, everything that I'm showing you and going over in tonight's presentation is going to be readily available for you on that website later today, tomorrow, whenever you get a chance to take a look at that. The reason this is listed on the screen as an optional item because you can get a point in the ranking for this. So if this is something you have completed, be sure you pull your registry offline and upload that to your application portal. There are additional items that you can use to get points. Again, we're talking about optional items, so don't worry if you do not have these, but if you do have evidence of any of these, please upload that. If you have a previous associate degree or bachelor degree, doesn't have to be in health sciences, but if you have any kind of previous degree, I will see that on that official college transcript that you have sent to us. Or if you got that associate degree with Davidson-Davie, I will see that. But if this is an associate degree or bachelor's degree from another school, make sure you send us the official college transcript to our admissions office so I can look at that, give you points for that. If you're a former or current career and college promise student with Davidson-Davie Community College. And if you don't know what that is, it's likely maybe you're not a CCP student, but a CCP student is somebody who takes classes with Davidson-Davie while they're enrolled in high school. Okay. Also, if you're a veteran or a current member of the armed services, if that's you, make sure you upload proper documentation to show that, and you could get a point in the ranking system for that. And lastly, an active medical certification. Active medical certifications are very specific, so make sure you read over the enrollment packet. They are all listed for you. And we have to have proper documentation uploaded to your application portal to show that you have that documentation. So the NA1 registry is not an active medical certification. That's not what we're looking at. Okay, that is a separate category. But things, if you're a paramedic, an EMT, a registered medical assistant, things of that nature, those are active medical certifications. Now, the items listed on this page do not apply to a lot of people. So don't stress if you don't have any of those things to get extra points in your ranking. It's okay. Those are not something that we get a lot of. Okay. I will tell you, students derive most of their points in the ranking from the screen where I talked about those general education classes, the anatomies, the Englishes, the humanity, things of that nature. That's where you get most of your points in the ranking. Very, very important. Your associate degree nursing applications must be submitted for final review by 5 p.m. on February the 9th. And we're going to talk about what that means when I say submit for final review. Okay. No late submissions will be accepted. Also, whenever you submit them, if anything's incomplete or incorrect as far as documentation, we will not review it. The reason we put that out there is because we already have examples of everything that you need to include that is required in a couple of the optional items. We have samples of that on that web page. So that way you can see exactly what the documents are we need. So we very strongly suggest that you make sure when you're submitting your application and you're uploading things that everything's correct, because we would not want anyone to miss out on being reviewed if something was incorrect or if they turned it in late, because we will not be able to look at them at that point. So again, when we say everything must be submitted by final review by 5 p.m. on February 9th, that's the Davidson-Davie application. That's the PWSC application. And that is the nursing program application submitted. So you cannot wait until February 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or even the 9th to begin the entire process. Because when you apply to Davidson-Davie, it takes a couple days to process that application. Then you need to go in and do the PWSC application. So you have to allow yourself time. So you can't get started on this process as late as February and still meet that 5 p.m. deadline on February 9th. Nor should you take the TEAS exam on February 8th and then try to get those scores and upload them to us by the 9th. That's really cutting it way too close. So make sure you're prepared. The fact that you are on the Zoom call and later watching this means that you're already being proactive anyway, but just please be mindful of that February 9th date, that you don't miss that. Okay. We do have a selection process in place. So we keep talking about ranking, and we're going to go over that again a little bit in detail and show you that ranking and that rubric sheet so you can see for yourself. But all the applicants who submit everything correctly and submit it on time by 5 p.m. on February the 9th of 2024, I will review those and I'll rank them according to the rubric. And anything that's late or incorrect or missing something, will not be able to review those. And then the highest ranking students will be offered conditional acceptance. And we'll go over what conditional acceptance means. So the highest ranking students on that rubric will get into the program. We do have a tiebreaker process in place, because a lot of you may think, well, what if there's 30 of us that all score the same? And we have a tiebreaker process in place that is listed in the enrollment packet, specifically how we do that. We look at different parts of the rubric. We look at, the required items, we look at the optional items. So definitely take a look at that if you're interested in what our tiebreaker process is. And then the big thing, once you've turned everything in on time, we then have an obligation, or I do, to get everything reviewed, and you will have a decision released to you after 5 p.m. or check your portal after 5 p.m. on February the 24th. So that's a couple weeks after the deadline. So if you apply next week and I review your application next week, you're still not going to get your decision until February 24th. So that's wonderful if you can apply early. And get that done, so you're not worried about it anymore. But the key thing is you're not going to have a decision until everyone's applications have been reviewed after February 9th. So after 5 p.m. on February 24th of next year, you will be able to look at your application portal and see if you made it into the program or not, to see if you were offered conditional acceptance. An alternate list will be created for those not offered at conditional acceptance. So let's say we offer it to 45 students, and we're aware that students apply to different nursing programs. So let's say you applied here and somewhere else, and you've already accepted a seat somewhere else. And so you denied your seat in our program, and that's okay. What we'll do is we'll look at that alternate list. We will then contact the next person on that alternate list the same way. We'll release a decision update to your application portal. How you know that you've got a status update, you will get an email that says, hey, check your status update. Okay, so you will know to go into your application portal, log in, and take a look at that. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I ran through the steps and I talked about what you need to do. But now I actually want to physically show you so you can see what we're referring to when we say you need to submit this application, you need to upload these documents, you need to submit for final review. We want to take a look at that so you get an idea exactly of what we're referring to in the enrollment packet. So on the screen right now, we've got our program special criteria webpage. So if you're sitting around, you have a pen and paper, you might want to just kind of take a look and jot that down. Whenever you went to register for this associate degree nursing information session, you were on the PWSC webpage. So you have actually already viewed the PWSC webpage because that's where the registration for the info session was, unless someone directly emailed this to you. That's where you were. So this is the web page that's going to be your best friend. You need to utilize this web page because that's where the enrollment packet is. That's where the sample documents are. That's where program information is. And later on, if all goes well, this recorded session will be out there on that web page as well. So what I want to do right now is go ahead and click that, walk you through that, and show you some of the steps that you actually need to do. So you guys should be able to see this program with special criteria for admissions webpage. I apologize if it's not super large and clear. And I do want to remind everyone we are recording this session, so everybody needs to make sure that they are muted and their cameras are off. So right now we're looking at that PWSC webpage that I've been referring to. So on this webpage, when you scroll down, it's going to show you to the right, you've got some contact us information where it's got an email that I will monitor and a phone number that I will monitor. Sample documents, the T-score report that I just showed you in the slideshow, that's where that came from, okay? Scroll down, the CNA registry documentation, that is also there, okay? Keep scrolling. I'll try not to scroll too fast to make you dizzy. Right here is what we're going to talk about tonight. Our associate degree nursing, the ADN traditional option program. Okay. This talks about the program right here, where coursework is face-to-face, where the campus is, where the courses are held. Now, general education classes, those anatomies, the English, psychologies, things of those nature, those can be taken online or at any campus, okay? But the nursing courses, remember, are at our Davidson campus in Lexington during the day, okay? Now, when you signed up for the information session, this is the link that you clicked and you registered. Check back in a couple of days and this recording should be in place of this registration. You should see this recording there and you can watch it again. This is the packet I keep referring to. And this next button is the rubric, the ranking system that we're going to refer to, okay? So what I want to do is go ahead and click on this ADN traditional enrollment packet. I'm not going to go through everything in this packet, but I want to show you some of the key steps that you want to take a look at for this packet. Okay. So this web page is very interactive. I will say it's best to use this on a desktop or a laptop. If you're viewing that web page on a mobile device, then you're going to see a very narrowed version. So all the things that were on the right-hand side, the contact us, the sample documents, they're going to be at the very bottom. You got to scroll to get to those. So while a mobile device is convenient, and that's great if you just want to have a quick glance, but something of this importance, I would definitely try to use a desktop or a laptop at all times. That same goes for when you get enrolled and you're a student with us. Using a mobile device is not great for classes. So again, keep that in mind. Try to make sure you have access to a desktop or a laptop. Okay, this is the Associate Degree Nursing Traditional Option Enrollment Packet I'm referring to. Right away, you're going to see the program application deadline of February 9th, I mentioned. The decision release date is going to be on the 24th. Again, you're not going to hear anything any sooner than the 24th, okay? The first step says, read this entire packet carefully before proceeding with your application. And I'll say that again. Read this entire packet carefully before proceeding with your application. You can print this. We have paper copies at the admissions office at the Davidson location. Anything you need to do, please read through this carefully from start to finish. The reason we want everyone to read through it from start to finish is because not only are the application steps in there, but the requirements are in there, and it goes on to talk about conditionally accepted students. We've already listed things to expect and things that we're going to require, such as immunizations, background checks, things of that nature, okay? The reason we want you to know that before you even apply is because if you cannot meet those criteria, then you don't need to apply. The reason being is if you apply and then cannot pass clinical clearance, then you've potentially taken a seat away from someone who could have gotten into the program. So we just want to be very transparent, put everything out there in the beginning. So it's a lot of pages, but it's there for a reason. So it's to help you out because we want to make sure you kind of know what you're getting into. So read the entire packet. What I want to look at right now is step 2, 3, and we're going to talk about some of the other steps. But in this packet, when you have pulled it up, where it says 2A, where it talks about apply to Davidson-Davie, if you're not a current student with us and you've not applied with us since August of 22, this is where you're going to land right here, step 2, after you've taken a look at the packet. When you just click that where it says click here, you'll see this where it says how to apply to Davidson-Davie. And it's going to take you to our webpage where you can apply to the school if this is not something you have yet done. Step 1, complete residency. That is required of all colleges. And then you'll move into the application. Okay. Once you've applied to Davidson-Davie, remember that's going to take a couple days to process. So give us a little bit of time. Once your application has been processed, you will be sent an email to the email address you put on that school application with your next steps. And in that next steps email, because you have applied as a pre-associate degree nursing student, you're also going to have some application portal login information that you're going to use later on in step 4. Okay. So just kind of when you get that email that gives you your application login credentials, hang on to that because that's what you need to go into to get your next steps, such as new student orientation. You're going to be able to log in later on and see that nursing application. Okay. So applying to Davidson-Davie. Now it's been a couple days and you've gotten that welcome to Davidson-Davie. You've gotten the other email that says, okay, your application has been processed. Then you want to go back to the Davidson-Davie application portal. You're going to go back here. You're going to click here to return to it, okay? It's all in the enrollment packet, so you don't have to go scrounging around, find the links. You don't have to worry about what to type in. Just come back here, and you'll go to there. Now, you've already applied to Davidson-Davie, so you're no longer a first-time user. You already set that up when you applied to us originally. You're going to come back in as a returning user. So I'm logging in. So here's my test record. So here we go. This is exactly what it's going to look like when you guys log in, okay? You'll see the Davidson-Davie application that you'd already submitted, and it's good. I've actually already done a PWSC one just for the purposes of this, but I'm going to go ahead and start a new one to show you what you need to do. So when you log on, you're going to see your Davidson-Davie application. You're going to go right here to start a new application. And see how this drop-down box comes up? It's going to say, oh, sorry, because I have that one already out there. We're going to create a new one. Sorry, guys. It worked great all day. And of course, now that we're trying to show it to you, it's not working. But whenever I go to start, it should say have a drop down, and it's going to have a drop down that says PWSC 2024-2025. The reason it's not showing for me is because I already had one. But you will select the correct one, okay? It will say 2024-2025, and then create the application, okay? So sorry about any confusion there. Process is exactly the same. It's just should say 2024-2025, okay? So that is your step 1 and 2. You've applied to Davidson-Davie. You've waited a day or two. Now you're going to go in, click here, and return back to that, okay? The steps are listed in the enrollment packet right there for you. The reason you have to do the PWSC application is because that is what's going to generate your ADN checklist. And that's where you're going to start uploading your required documentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys mine and keep our fingers crossed it works well, because like I said, it's worked well all day. Okay. All right, so this is my nursing application. This is the application portal that we're talking about. When we say, look at your checklist, upload documentation, submit for final review. This is kind of the meat and potatoes right here. This is where you want to be able to get to. So whenever I log into that, it's going to say welcome and your name. This is welcome special criteria to the Davidson-Davie application portal. You'll see status updates, and you'll see some information here. What I want you to pay real close attention to is right here to the right-hand side. Right now, I'm on my Davidson-Davie application for 24-25. You want to make sure you're clicking on your PWSC 2024-2025 one. You see how that changed? Because this is my actual nursing application, okay? So I just wanted to start with the Davidson-Davie one so I could show you the difference. There's the Davidson-Davie one. Talks about enrollment packets, gives you some information. You would click on View Update. It'll give you your new student orientation, all your enrollment information. But when you get to the point where you need to work on that nursing application, make sure you come over here to the right-hand side of the screen and choose the 2024-2025 option. When you scroll through, here is your checklist that we refer to. That is your application checklist. You'll see things that are required, and you'll see things that are optional. This is where you upload materials. So for my example, I went ahead and uploaded a TEAS score report. How I did that is I click on this, and you can find there's your TEAS score report. There's your proof of military service. Now, all of these in the drop-down box are not going to pertain to you guys, okay? There's your copy of NA1 registration, medical certificate, paramedic. There's all kinds of different things here, okay? But the TEAS score report is required for everybody. So that's the one that you really want to make sure you've got there, okay? So you would click on that. You choose the file from your laptop, whether it's a PDF, probably. Choose file, and then click upload. Once that uploads, it'll show up here that it's been uploaded. Give it a moment. It might not be instantaneous, but it'll show up. It'll show the date you uploaded that and that it was received, okay? Let's say you uploaded your TEAS report and then you decided to retake it. Or you uploaded the wrong one and you caught it in time. Then you can go back in and upload another one. Everything you upload, I'll be able to take a look at. So if I see that there's multiple uploads of the same thing, hopefully that's not the case, but if it is, I'll be able to take a look at that and look at the correct one for you. So don't panic. Once you've uploaded all the materials that are required, you can then submit for final review. But if you have optional items, make sure you upload everything before you click for final review. I want you guys to pay real close attention to the final review portion. So you'll see as I scroll down, it talks about By affirming below, I understand that I will not be able to submit any additional supportive documentation for my review. And then you would click, I affirm that my program application for competitive entry is ready for review and submit. Be real cautious when you do that, because once you hit submit, that's going to go to my queue and I'm going to review it. And once I review it, it sits in another queue until February when we release decisions and we rank everyone. If you're currently a student in courses that do not end until December, then do not submit this application for final review until those final grades are in. So if you apply and do submit for final review in November, but you're currently still in classes somewhere, then those classes will not count in the review, because if you submit next week, I'm going to review it next week and I'm done. I do not go back and re-review. So be real careful when you click that submit for final review that you really are ultimately ready for me to review it, because once I've reviewed it, it's done. Now, should you accidentally submit for final review and you realize it right away, then you want to go over here and see, that's me. There's my information. Go ahead and email that pwsc@davidson-davie.edu and let me know. Say, oh, Miss Edwards, I don't know what I was thinking. I went ahead and submitted and I realized I forgot to do X, Y, and Z. Okay. I think it'd be kind of rare that you would mistakenly submit for final review, but you've got that insurance policy. If you do it, you just contact me and I'll work with you on getting that unsubmitted so you can resubmit it when you're ready. Okay. But just be real careful. You guys work really hard to get into this program. So I want you to work just as hard at getting this application looking really good and correct. And I wouldn't want anybody to miss out because something was wrong. So pay real close attention to when you do submit for final review, and make sure that you are reading that enrollment packet carefully and looking at everything. Okay. So I'm just going to log out of my little test record for now. And I'm going to go back to that enrollment packet. We've gone right back to this. This talks about everything. I'm not going to read all of this. This is for you guys. Make sure you've read this entire packet. It talks about, there's those immunizations I talked about. It talks about needing basic life support, CPR, for healthcare providers by the time you get into the program, okay, or start the program. If you click there, you can even register for our healthcare provider. So a lot of interactive links in this packet just to help you navigate everything, okay? It goes into detail about the things I talked about earlier in the presentation, those required items, the T's, making sure we have high school transcripts. And then it spells out the optional items. These optional items are listed there, tells you exactly what the optional items are, how you provide documentation, what those documentations look like. You can click there and it'll give you that CNA documentation again. And this is where it talks about the active medical certification. And these are the ones that we'll take. It goes on to talk about the tiebreaker that I mentioned earlier, how we rank you guys, how you find out. It goes on to tell you, how do I find out if I'm in the program or not? And this is that rubric. This is that rubric that we were talking about that I use to rank everyone on. So what I'm going to do is go back to the PWSC page. This is where we are. If you go back and look at that, here's that rubric. So while the rubric is listed on the last page of the packet, it is also listed separately as a quicker reference for you. This is out there so you can actually rank yourself before you turn your application in. You will be able to tally up your scores for the T's, which again is required. And then academic history, you'll be able to tally up your scores for that. You'll take a look at that. The higher the grade, the more points you get. Any additional items at the bottom, and highest score is 37. And you'll be able to know exactly what your score should line up when I review you before you even submit for final review. So we try to have everything that we can think of out there for you guys. So as you're navigating this process, as you're going through the application process, we've tried to kind of answer all your questions on this webpage, so you can keep referring to that to be able to take a look and say, okay, this is the anatomy I need. This is how many points I'm going to get. Okay. So definitely keep a check on that webpage right here. A lot of you on the call tonight are applying to associate degree nursing, but let's say you don't get an associate degree nursing and you're going to try to do the practical nurse education. All of that is listed here. You just got to scroll a little bit because it's in alphabetical order, because all the program special criteria are listed here. So here's the P&E one, the practical nurse education. All the same information is there, okay? So hopefully that'll help a lot of your questions, okay? All right. So now let's kind of go back. So this is that PWSC webpage that I talked about, that I just shared with you. We created that to help you guys out. So we really hope that it is a benefit to you to have all that out there, the enrollment packet, the sample documents, and the info sessions and rubrics. So we highly recommend that you keep a check on that. Most of the questions, again, that you have are going to be answered in that enrollment packet. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do is go over the actual program specific information. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Angie Lundgren, and she's going to talk about what to expect in the ADN program, what clinicals are like, and what courses are like. And again, we're still recording, so just remain muted and cameras off, because at the very end of this, we're going to let you guys ask all the questions that you have. Okay, Dr. Lundgren, you can go ahead and.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I hope you can hear me okay. I am the Director of Nursing here at Davidson-Davie, and I just want to share a little bit of the program-specific information with you guys. Go ahead and move. So once you have applied to the program and you have been conditionally accepted into the nursing program, you want to make sure that you're completing the additional requirements. So you've been accepted into the program. Ms. Edwards has reviewed everything. You've been accepted. Now we have these other things that you must do to complete the acceptance to start in the nursing program next fall. So as you can see on here, there's several things that you have to do. We have you have to start a Complio account. You have to purchase a My Clinical Exchange account and have that set up. And with those two systems, they're like the housing area for your vaccinations, your medical verification forms, your NA listing, your CPR form. So you'll have to have those accounts up ready and have all your information loaded within those systems by the determined deadline that we set for you guys. So that is a requirement. You have been accepted into the program conditionally, but once you have completed all of those requirements for your medical history, your vaccinations, then you are fully in the program and have a seat. Okay. If you don't complete those requirements for Complio, My Clinical Exchange, all those different things, medical verification, then you will, your seat will be given to someone else. So you just keep that in mind when we give you deadlines. We do have hard stop deadlines that we have to stick to when it comes to these requirements. Okay. And some general information about the ADN program. Just want you to be aware that attendance, we're really strict on our attendance because we have requirements that we have to meet within the nursing program. Students can't miss more than 2 days of class, lab, or clinical per semester. So it does start over each semester. Okay? Class is on campus in person for this program. And just keep in mind also that conditionally accepted students are required to attend all meetings or any other events that are scheduled prior to the start of class next fall. So this could mean, we may have an orientation session that is required of you, that you will have to come to campus, and it is mandatory that you attend those orientation sessions. Otherwise, you will forfeit your seat if you don't attend it. The schedules do vary each semester. And as we mentioned earlier, clinical can be scheduled on days, evenings, or weekends. When I mentioned the My Clinical Exchange and all the different things that you have to upload to be completely accepted into the program, this includes passing a clinical clearance. So once you have uploaded all your information into Complio and into My Clinical Exchange, we send your information over to our primary community clinical partners, and that is Atrium Health, that's Novant, and you must pass a clearance with them as well. So they'll look at your background check, all your information, and they'll tell us whether you pass their clearance or not. You must pass our primary clinical partners clinical clearance. Again, that's Atrium Hospital and Novant, to be able to stay in this program. If they don't approve you to come to clinical to their facilities, then you can't stay in the program, but you must pass the clinical clearance for both of those facilities to remain in our program, because that's where you would be attending clinical. So if you do have any issues, if you were an employee at one of those two facilities and you are a do not return, do not hire, then you may want to try to rectify those issues that you have on your record, because they will look at that. when they're completing your clinical clearance as a nursing student. Okay, it's very important if you're working at one of those facilities and you decide you're going to resign, that you do give a 2-week notice and leave on a good note with those 2 facilities. It's very imperative to this program. I did want to mention some of the costs that you will incur if you are accepted into the ADN program. The first one is our textbooks. These textbooks, lab kits, and uniforms are required to be purchased. Our textbooks are approximately $1,800, and that will be right now it's right up front, but we're getting ready to switch over to where you pay each semester for it. But that $1,800 would be the entire program. You wouldn't have to purchase anything additional other than that, as far as textbooks and all of our electronic resources and things like that. Your uniform is going to be approximately $200, maybe a little bit less for the program. And then you also purchase a lab kit that's around $200. So there is a few fees and things that you have to pay for. Also wanted to discuss our clinical rotations. I mentioned we use Atrium, we use Novant, we use some of the other facilities, but we do place students in clinical rotations based on what we have available. So we cannot accommodate personal life or work schedules. These are not considered when we're placing you in a clinical rotation. A lot of times it may be where we have a clinical instructor where they can go, or a floor that we've signed up for at the hospital, and that's just where we have to place the students. So we can't take any of those personal reasons into consideration. And again, you need to be able to attend clinical anytime that you're not in class. Like I said, independent on the semester, students may be in clinicals up to 3 times a week. Typically, it's once or twice a week, but there may be times that we have to split it up, or there may be some type of special out rotation that you're on that equals 3 times a week. Okay. I can't reinforce enough that students in this ADN program should anticipate spending 20 to 30 hours per week studying and completing coursework outside of the scheduled course times. This is a very rigorous program. We are preparing students in this program to complete the NCLEX exam. That's the nursing licensing exam. And so we want you to be prepared when you graduate. So we do encourage 20 to 30 hours per week outside of classroom time. Okay. Keep in mind, students must earn a B, which is an 80 here at Davidson-Davie, or higher in their nursing coursework to remain enrolled in the program. A final course grade of 79.95, it's still a C. We don't round up any grades here. This is just a brief little example of what a schedule might look like in the ADN program. So you can see first semester class Monday and Wednesday, lab on Thursday, and then maybe clinical on Tuesday or Friday, or maybe Tuesday and Friday. That you can think of this program like, if you have a full-time job, this would be your second full-time job. This is just like having a full-time job. Okay, and you can see the second semester Monday, Wednesday, maybe clinical Tuesday and Friday. Third semester class Tuesday, Wednesday, clinical Monday or Friday, and it's very similar throughout the program. But our days do change, so you couldn't count on, okay, I'm going to work every Monday, go to class every Tuesday, Wednesday. So our schedule changes each semester. Okay? As well as your clinical day would change each semester. That's all I have.
Okay, everyone. I did want to mention all the things that Dr. Lundgren talked about. Those are for items if you are offered conditional acceptance and then you accept your seat in the ADN program. So your main concern really at this point is getting the application turned in correctly. And if you're in classes, making sure you're continuing to do well in your classes. There's no need, you do not need to go ahead and set up Complio or clinical exchange. You do not need to go forward with any of those things. You do not need to start contacting partnering sites to find out about when you may be placed. None of that is anything that needs to be on your radar right now. The things that she talked about are simply things that we wanted you to be aware of in case you are accepted into the program. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and end this for now. We are going to roll into the question and answer section. But at this time, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. But please remember, if you're not able to stay on any longer to ask questions, but please check back on our website so you can rewatch this So you can look at that enrollment packet, look at the sample documents, look at the rubric. Again, everything is out there for your benefit. We don't put all that information out there to weigh you down with information. We put it out there so you'll have that. Okay. So this time we'll go ahead and stop recording.